Testing. Testing.
that's spinning over. It's a good day. It's not hot. We're going to enjoy the morning here, and I guess you guys have a Supreme Showman or Royal Showman here coming up at noon soon, so I guess we're going to try to move as efficiently as we can, and we can get through this Carcass contest or Carcass show here on foot, and we'll move right along. So here in this first class, this is maybe a little different scenario than most, and we're judging these in terms of, they're show animals, but we're also judging in terms of carcass quality on foot, and it kind of changes your priorities a little bit in terms of what you want to do, and there's some sacrifices that we'll probably make, or I will, along the way for, we're judging these for their high cut ability and where they're at in terms of their ability to hang a carcass that's going to be the best, and it's hard and it's a tough thing to do to read into them a little bit, but I enjoy this part of the show, and I've kind of visited in my mind the last few days on this, on how it's going to go, and in my mind and what I wanted to do priority-wise, and so I've kind of put my brain to it a little bit and on what we wanted to do today. So to start the class here, this young lady's landrace, I believe, gilt, is going to start the class. So this one, to me, just substance and mass of muscle, and the way it's tied onto her skeleton is extremely good. She's opened up. She's got a big square back working in her. I think her condition is spot on for where she is and her weight and size, and it all matches and proportions extremely well. And then you put it on a skeleton that's that comfortable, and the way that she puts it on there is extremely good, and I think it's the easy place to land here to start the class. The young lady here next with the I believe it's maybe a spot or a pole, I believe a spot. This one's just fresh and is lean up high, and that's what I appreciate about it. Her back is spread open. There's a big loin working in her top. She's probably shot leaner in terms of condition than maybe the one that wins this particular class, but just has the right kind of shape and dimension to her top, and she handles it good enough on that skeleton. Coming out next, spread gilt here is one. It just gives up that muscle mass and that overall this bulk of muscle that one's above her, and also when you just study her, when you put a skeleton, they've still got comfortable, and I think this one's to be a little lighter and frailer in her bone work comparative to the ones above her, but I still think a very high cut ability type of hog that needs to slide up there in that 3-hole. The young lady coming out next, some will argue that this one does have more muscle than the one above her, and I wouldn't argue any different, and we'll know when we see the scan data in a little bit that this one probably does have a shot more up high. I just got to get this one to just be comfortable. I mean, she's not quite done yet. I think for her to finish out and be able to put condition on, I think you do that. That one climbs up a little bit as well. One that we follow next is one that just needs to have more all the way through her. She just doesn't have as much power as whatever. It's probably a shot leaner in her overall condition comparatively. And we roll out these next few. They just want to give up too much product within this particular class for them to be able to move up any higher today. Nice way to start the day. Congratulations to those kids.
For class 1 in your Carcass gilt show, first goes to McKenna Malcolm, second Zoe Camille, third Calvin Lee, fourth Eleanor Fink, fifth Lucia Warner, sixth Callahan Spieth, seventh Lindsay Stone, and eighth Braden Stone.
Another excellent class here in the gilt carcass division here, and the young man to my left here with the belt, I think excels in terms of just product and dimension and power and stoutness. As this one just gets out here, you know, she reads big and wide in her top shape. She's got it's just stacked up there like you see when you get off to the side, and the muscle carries deeper down on her loin or over her rib cage, and then you combine that with one that, you know, has probably the most in terms of structural integrity within this class. Yeah, she wants to roll out of her hock a little bit, but within the carcass division, it's a little more acceptable because I think she's to the point where she can handle it. High cut ability, hogging too. This one has got more probably shape. And when you read her right, when you get on top of her, I just need to see this one, and this is where it kind of comes into play. She does need to show me just a shot more cover. Yeah, she's lean and for sure, but we're getting to the point where we do need to get just a shot more on her, and she's not quite as coordinated in that skeleton off both ends. That's where the priority kind of sets on her as she walks, as she travels. I need to see her comfortable. There's another one that's, you know, from a show standpoint or a gilt, this one, you know, on the side and the profile and the silhouette is what you want to see, and bone work is really good in this one in terms of the way she puts it together. You know, this one just doesn't have enough substance of that muscle maybe to run with the ones above her within this particular class. We let the next one out. Here's another one that's you know, square back, big and bold and opened up there for sure. Just got to get this one just to smooth up and just kind of tie it all together a little better, but one that still reads with a lot of shape up high. The one coming out next, and this is something, you know, in the show pig world too that we talk about. You know, some guys talk about short backed, and this is where I question this one. And, you know, from the carcass standpoint, is this one got enough length of skeleton and length of for her to one that will cut that extra set of loin, you know, that's going to have enough to her. She's powerful, you bet, whether she is long enough in her overall skeleton to be able to move up any higher. We round out the class with the red one going out there. Love the body shape and that in terms of this overall power down low. Just not enough overall power and shape in that one. We round out the class with another one that just reads as having too much condition, you know, not enough muscle there for her to move up any higher.
Results for Class 2. First, Cameron Hilly. Second, Tia Warner. Third, Malachi Malcolm. Fourth, Riley Shin. Fifth, Jonathan Smith. Sixth, Ashlyn Chester. Seventh, Wyatt. And eighth, Kara DeBolt.
Another good class. We have a pair of here at the top that are pretty similar, I think, in their condition and where they're at. I think it's just that length and extension and not necessarily look. It's just body length that makes the calico gilt for me just kind of come to the surface of the top. She's dense. Her muscles wrapped on her skeleton extremely well. The combination of her cover with as much muscle as there, I appreciate that for sure. I think she's the one that'll land on there for sure. Like I just said, if you make this one just a shot longer in her overall skeleton, I think this one will easily win the class. I think there's a little extra, condition on that one that maybe reads not maybe true muscle in there. She's carrying a little more cover that maybe reads to be some shape and dimension. I just think that one don't quite have as much overall muscle laying in her as the one that class. Here's the one that comes in here and is the power hog within this drive. This one is wide and stout for sure. Where I question this one is another one is the condition right or match that much muscle. I don't know, but it reads to be big and wide and stout. I think that's muscle in there versus maybe that extra. Where I change it, we got to stretch that one out all the way through her skeleton, give her more length overall. When it comes up next, show side of things, the profile and the look of this one as she gets out here and steps ring. I appreciate that for she just runs out of just overall muscle and overall mass of that muscle tied on that skeleton when you get right in behind her as she study her going and coming. And I think that's another one that maybe reads with a little more condition versus muscle for that one to move up the class. We get down to the next few here that just another scenario, they just don't quite have that overall power and mass of muscle that we want to see. Maybe not structurally as good as maybe the one of them, but you sure to appreciate some of those, their length of side and length and look that they have, just not enough product within that skeleton.
Placings in Class 3. First, Holly Howard. Second, Megan Bushing. Third, Brenda Lake. Fourth, Georgia DeBolt. Fifth, Lydia Young. Sixth, Ashlyn Jester. And seventh, Calvin Lee.
Our judge today is Brett Vickery. Brett is from Warren, Indiana. He has a wife, Karen, and 2 kids, Delaney and Owen. He farms with his father, and they have a couple dozen sows that they use for crosses and Yorks. He's a well-known pig guy. We see him all over the place at Swine events, and we're very fortunate to have Brett Vickery from Warren, Indiana here today.
Another good class here, and I elected to start with the belted gilt out here. This one's just, in terms of just muscle and shape and dimension and power, this one definitely possesses all those attributes that kind of surfaces her for the top. And do I think she's skeleton? When you step back and study her, does she have enough foot and bone? Maybe some of them within this particular class, no, but the overwhelmingness of the muscle that she carries on that skeleton, I think it's okay for where we need to be within this division, and I just appreciate how much power that one has and handles it well. The red gilt's one that from a show standpoint, when you step back off of this one, she's impeccable, I think, in their lines and her silhouette and the way she handles herself. And she gets out here in motors and just travels with these, just sacrifices too much muscle for me within the Carcass division for me to be able to move her above the one that wins this particular class. Here's another one that she say was similar or comparative to the one that wins this particular class. It goes back to like we talked about earlier. I think we just need to lengthen this one out. Is she gonna scan? Is she gonna cut in with a big top and hang a couple hams? It's going to be huge in terms of setting on your Thanksgiving dinner time. Yes, that's for sure, because there's plenty of product there. I just can't sacrifice. She is to done weight, or she is to harvest weight, we'll say, but just not comfortable enough for me, and that's where kind of you got to step back and throw that and evaluate in terms of her ability to continue to get there to the rail. She just wants to get out of herself for me, and we still got to have some kind of instructional integrity as we go forward. Out here next, and there's another one that I think is a high cutability type of hog that is in her shape and fresh in her condition. It matches extremely well. When you just maybe not as quite as wide and stout up high, she does handle herself a little better on the step. Just doesn't balance like you'd like to see as well. Here's another one that's going to scan extremely high cutability in terms of just back and shape and muscle. We just got to get this one to be coordinated better. Her skeleton's not just correct. She just got to have a better skeleton laid in there with that much power and mass. We round out a couple of them here that are long and lean, and they're look for. You just got to get more power and punch with them compared to some that are in the class. You do that, I think it gets so they could be able to move on up within the drive.
Results for Class 4. First, Cole Bushing. Second, Holly Howard. Third, Joshua Chafee. Fourth, Brake. Fifth, Maggie Warner. Sixth, Kurt. And seventh, Nicole Bunkowski.
A little more challenging class here because I think there's a lot of good quality all the way down through here. So we had to take a little more time and just study, some to just break them down in my mind on how it all ties together, skeleton look. And the young lady Spot's going to win the class, and she's not going to be a team player out here and drive for this young lady, but I think this is the combination of one that's power, her length of side, her just substance of muscle, the way it ties on her skeleton. I think that's the one that is just comfortable in terms of all the combination of things that gives me all sorts of product and lays it on the way I want to see it in terms of lean versus mass and muscle there. That's how I love that and appreciate that about that one. The one that does have the big back and is square up high and opened up and has a big loin working in her for sure is the Black Gilton 2. We just got to, if we could take that much muscle and stretch the skeleton to the side, I think it would get real good in a hurry. Just not as comfortable and coordinated either, and we just got to make that one maybe a little sounder there. Just the biggest thing is just not enough length in that one to maybe move up any higher. The red gilt coming out next is kind of that one that's first or third type scenario. I just don't know if there's as much true product, and I think when you would hang them up, it would be close in terms of quality or value in the pair between that one and the black one. I just can't you just can't give up that much just overall power that the black one has. I love the length aside of this one, just don't quite think there's as much true muscle in that one to be able to move up any higher. The young lady coming out next is another one that just maybe she's carrying just a shot more bark than maybe true muscle shape in this one. She wants to be a little dry and it's not as much just overall bulk or density in that muscle reader from the side. And I think do that real good in a hurry. Just not as trim and lean up high as maybe the ones above her. The Berkshire coming out next is another one that's a very high cutability. You love that about her. Just probably doesn't have as much product as you'd like to see working in that one relative to the ones above her to be able to move up any higher. The Hereford coming next is one that, maybe not as sound and as coordinated as you'd like to see for sure, but this one's got a lot of shape and a lot of dimension up high, just not near as comfortable enough to be able to move up any higher. The Hampshire Appearing coming out next is one that's same scenario, just not enough shape and just power of muscle when you step right in on top of her. She's comfortable, she's fluent for where she is or where she's at. We just got to get more there. We round out the class with a pair that just need to have that overall, just more substance and just more mass to be able to move up any higher. Nice class, deep class. Congratulations to those kids.
Placings for Class 5. First, Georgia DeBolt. Second, Joshua Chafee. Third, Lauren Dickey. Fourth, Hallie Paul. Fifth, Megan Mosier. Sixth, Joshua Chafee. Seventh, Ellen Knoll. Eighth, Lucia Warner. And ninth, Keegan Hornbeck.
Another deep quality class all the way through, all the whole class. I think is extremely good and all quality. Or Carcass show, you know, there's some give and takes within the class, and it just breaks down of just cutability and high quality Carcass is what we're looking for with today. And maybe this one that wins the class isn't the most comfortable, but there's so much good product working in this one, and it'd be interesting for sure to see where this one lands. You know, in terms of just the scan figures, because the length of side and the fresh and the back that this one possesses, but it matches in terms of just the total package in terms of muscle. When you get right on top of her and then you step in behind, I think she's very fresh and full there all the way through her body. She reads with a little more forearm, a little more chest, you know, and just power there and sucks all the way through her skeleton with comparative to the bluegill. I think if you could power this bluegill up and just give her just more all the way through her. Her shape and her cutability is extremely good. Just probably not as much total package product there than when you just get right in on her and study her when you just step off of her. But a nice pair there to start the class. We run into a pair of Yorkshire gilts here, and they're very good and high quality in terms of ones that I would definitely tell you I'd take them home and put them in the breeding pen, because I think they're very high quality breeding pieces for sure. I think within this Carcass show though, probably just carrying that shot more, and probably a little more fluff and fluff on these than what you would want to see in a Carcass show. But these things are built really good. They got muscle, they got shape, just not as much overall power and that deep ditch working in them and that lean or high cut ability compared to the ones above them within the class. We run into a pair of red ones here that come out next. Same kind of scenario, just not as much product working in them as you'd like to see comparatively the ones above them. Another pair that, you read them from a breeding side of things, you appreciate a lot of things about them, but in this setting, probably just carrying too much bark relative to the ones above them to be able to move up. We bring down another three here that are kind of the same scenario. High quality hogs for sure. Just not as much to them, not as much product. That lean muscle look that you want to see for a Carcass evaluation that I want to see, and that's where they kind of slide down the line here for sure. But very good quality in terms of their build and structural integrity.
In Class 6, first, Brady Howard. Second, Taylor Knibler. Third, Cameron Hilly. Fourth, Merrick Malcolm. Fifth, Landon King. Sixth, Nathan Seibel. Seventh, Caleb Knibler. Eighth, Holly Howard. And Brenna Lake.
we get into this class, and there's some good here, and if you step back off of these and you study them and you say, okay, the show guild of the group is definitely the calico, and this one's tricked out and has the look and everything about her in terms of show ring presence. I just think she gives up too much product. The one that was just class. When you get right on top of them, I think from rings you can see just how much true product and mass this black gilt has shapely and just lean. See this size. This one just overpowers. She's not probably the soundest, but she's there. We're in two range, and she handles it good enough for me on that skeleton for sure. Because so much good product in this one. I think that needs to win. Like I said, you step off of this one and build, proportion, balance, function, all those cool things you talk about, maybe in a show ring or for a show pig prospect or a show, a breeding piece, or even in this scenario in the Carcass setting, it all matches portion like you want to see. There's not enough true natural meat in this. There's a little more fluff when you right on top of this one. Maybe not. It reads to me is more with the feed bucket shape than maybe one that is true muscle shape in that one to be able to move up any higher. Young lady's blue gilt that's giving her fits here that wants to be done for the week, and I can understand that for sure. We just got done with our county fair this week too, and it happens. But this one is another one. The shape and power and mass is spot on right there for sure. Just not as quite maybe it's just true bulk and density is the ones that runs up there above them. Maybe not as cool and has. Sorry, I'll shake your hand. There you go. One that just it doesn't tie all like you like to see, maybe not as balanced in proportions in the way she's put together than the ones above her. One coming out next is a stouty and has all those things, just too plain, I think, in that muscle and that shape that she possesses, pushing the envelope for me in terms of just overall condition. She's powerful and she's stout for sure, just doesn't match in terms of the way that muscle is and it is bulk that it needs to be within that skeleton to be able to move up. We come with a pair of red ones like we talked there earlier. Design, look, profile is really, really good on these two. Just runs out of that overall just total power and muscle that the ones run up above them. Berkshire gilt comes out next, is one you love for a Berkshire, especially with that much shape and squareness to her loin edge. Just lighter in her muscle, the comparative to the two red ones, I think, when you get them peeled down. Like to see her come with a little more cover there, smoothing that up to make her that much more valuable. We round out the class. That's it, right? Yep. All right, we'll get you a champion Carcass gilt here as we drive.
We will now begin our grand champion Carcass Gilt show. Out of number 1, we have Malcolm. It's okay. We can clap. It's early. Let's go ahead. Let's clap. Wake up, Allen County. Class number 2, we have Emily. Class 3, Holly Howard. Our Class 4 representative is Bushing. Our Class 5 is Georgia DeBolt. Class 6 is Brady. And rounding out our first place gilt classes is Brooke Kneibler. Okay, guys, round of applause, a big one. Let's go, wake up. There we go.
We get your class winners back out here, and I'll be the first to admit there's not maybe one out here that jumps out at you is the one that's going to be, that show guild or that show. And that's not necessarily what we're trying today. We're breaking these down in terms of carcass merit and carcass value, and sometimes they may not be, the perfect built one. And I'll be the first to admit, if I was switching it around, we would have done things different today in terms of a show animal. And there's been a lot of talk. You always hear, and there's discussions about the separation between the show ring and the real world, and it's the way it is anymore. I mean, we're trying to achieve and make these things as good as possible and put all the extras on them for sure, and then make them as comfortable as you can be, but yet you got to kind of relate this back to the real world of profitability or cutability, and do that. And sometimes maybe the best built one's not going to be that, and you can see that out here. I put away some earlier in class for sure that, like I talked them, that, that are the ones that are the show animals, and that do an extremely good thing there. But we're still about product here, and that's what we got to have. And I think there's one out here that is just length of side and just total power and muscle, and it is lean, but yet has the right amount of condition, I think, for where they're at. And I've done this show a few years ago, and it goes back to when I'm 44 years old, and when I was in college, we was scanning every show in the country. There was a group of guys that had scan machines and traveling and scanning these things, and I can tell you that I learned a lot from being able to do that. And I appreciate the fact that people in charge here is still gives kids an opportunity to use that tool to be able to get their mind right on what one's supposed to be, and whether it's a show animal or we're into the commercial side or the production side of the world, because you still got to understand what muscle and leanness and condition be, because if you can do that, I'm not the best here in the world by no stretch of imagination, but when I was able to understand what we needed to do with the feedback changes that you can with your fat or your protein or your light, to be able to make your shape out and have that presence that you need to have, it made me a breeder, and it made me a better breeder and a better stockman, because I was able to understand the inside out, inside in. So congratulations to all you people that are still doing this. I think it's a great thing able to have these kids understand it. I'm probably not going to find one to hang the best, because I'm sure there's some that will, but I think on foot there's one for me in this gilt drive that has all those things and puts it together in the right kind of package. She may not be the structurally most best when we say, but she's awful stout and powerful. Young Blue's going to have your champion Carcass gilt. Congratulations to her.
Congratulations to Holly Howard for exhibiting the Grand Champion Carcass Gilt, coming out of Class 3.
We bring the blue gilt back out here, and I talked about her just within that pair not having just overall substance and product that's going to be valuable within there. And I think she's another one that's that shape and that lean look, but has the condition where it needs. She's big and weights where she needs to be, and that's something in your mind. You study these and go, you're more pounds hanging it, but is it going to be quality product? So you step back and look at that. I think there's another one out here that fits in there, and that one's in here for sure. But there's a pair of them, her and another one that just has more to them, and a high cutability type of hog that's got plenty of muscle and power and handles extremely well. But for me, the second best one's going to be in the black and white. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations, Cole Bushing, for exhibiting the reserve champion Carcass Gilt on foot. There is a correction on the Grand Champion. It was exhibited by Brady Howard. I've been told that they're ready over there, so let's get this party started and let's kick off our 2021 Barra Carcass Show.
Good way to start off here in the Barra Show and this white hog. I mean, this one's square backed, he's long sided, he just ties it all together on a good skeleton. He's got look too, as far as that, you know, when you reach back and want to compare him in the show pig side of things. That one's just got all the right parts, it matches. I mean, cutability in that one is extremely good. He's longer sided and square backed than the 1 and 2. The 1 and 2 does have that good look, and it is fresh and square right out of the top side of his blade for sure. He carries that loin all the way back. Just not quite as much to that loin as you when you compare them. Maybe he wants to be just a shot shorter sided comparatively, but a nice pair of barras to start off in this particular class. Here's one that compositionally you like in structure and mobility for sure. Just then he's flatter and not as good and opened up there in his forearm, not as much power and punch as you'd like to see right there. And then when you get on top of him, he's not as crisp and as wide in his back and the way that muscle ties there, just not quite as much product. Well, this one here probably is wider and stouter for sure. He does have more forearm. You know, this one, you comparing him to the 3 above him, is carrying maybe just a shot more cover to where he's at. He's a little plainer in that muscle shape and it just doesn't quite have that overall, that loin edge and squareness and power that the ones above him possess. We come down to this black one, and when you study this one from the side, and first impressions of a show pig is good. He's up-headed, he's tall-shouldered for sure. Just plainer and not quite as just powerful when you get right in behind him when he steps and goes away from you. Not as much true width and dimension as you want to see in that center part of his ham as you study him going away. This one here is another one. This one's just that one that is very quick in his maturity. I mean, he's done today for sure in terms of condition and muscle for sure. That one just needs to have more skeleton to handle all that power and get that thing stretched out. Is he going to scan with back? You bet. Just not as good looking and lean as you'd like to see comparatively. These two coming out next are ones that are leaner in their overall design and look and their muscle. Just not enough muscle on that skeleton to be able to move up within that particular class.
Placings in Class 8. First, Merrick Malcolm. Second, Megan Mosier. Third, Brooke Kneibler. Fourth, Brenna Lake. Fifth, Dylan Paul. Sixth, Drew Dafford. Seventh, Braden Stone. And eighth, Nicole Bunkowski.
Another class here that comes out with quality and maybe not quite as deep in terms of just that carcass mare within the class, but I think the three we got left out here are very good in terms of that muscle, and but the one that just puts it all together and has more everywhere and just more just over total package of product is the Yorkshire Bear. I mean, that one's bold, he's out, he's fresh, and up high. He leaves you with plenty of power and dimension there in the center of his ham for sure. You know, he's crisper and reads trimmer and leaner in that loin edge. And I think there's probably just so much more true muscle in that hog when you get right on top of him when you compare him to the landrace bear. Landrace bear here, if you could just crisp him up, I think there's a little more cover he's carrying there. You know, his ditch doesn't work near as deep. I think his cutability is a little lower because of that, just because he's carrying a shot more condition. But you love the look and the freshness that one has. You know, in the show pig standpoint, I like that one a lot in terms of that. Just doesn't quite have that cutability to the Yorkshire Bear that wins the class. This one here probably will scan with a bigger eye. I'll be the first to admit that. With the three that are above him, we got to stretch this one out. If we can make that one have that length of side and length of carcass and skeleton that the Yorkshire Bear and the landrace have, I think he gets that much more because you add more product and get a couple, you get a couple more chops pulled out of that one that are that big. That's where that one needs to be better when you compare them. If we could do that, I think that one wins in terms on foot. You know, on foot, he just needs to be long-headed. Maybe on scan data, just that loin eye is going to be bigger, but we got to have him have 2 or 4 more chops laid in there because you need to stretch him out. Here's one that is a little longer-sided, but it's kind of that give and take, and it's hard to decide if this one does have enough more muscle, and then when you cut him out and you hang him up, is there going to be that much more in terms of overall product and quality of product within that pair? And I think he just sacrifices too much of that width up high for him to be able to get around the black hog to be able to move up any higher. Here's one that you like too in terms of just cutability and squareness up high. We got to structurally make that one better. It just doesn't handle that carcass, handle that muscle on that handle that muscle on his skeleton that you like to see. We ran out the class here with 3 of them that are big and they're kind and have some look to them for sure, just not as much overall product working in them. They just need to have a shot more muscle all the way through to run with those above them. Congratulations to those kids.
Placings in Class 9. First, Kennedy Harrell. Second, Madeline Malcolm. Third, Kennedy Harrell. Fourth, Brenna Lake. Fifth, Isaac Warner. Sixth, Eleanor Fink. Seventh, Lindsay Stone. And eighth, Jonathan Smith.
Our judge again today is Brett Vickery from Warren, Indiana. He farms with his father, and they have a 25 head herd of crosses and Yorks. His wife is Karen, and they have 2 children, Delaney and Owen. So our judge today is Brett Vickery from Warren, Indiana.
I think the decision to be made here is and we're going to talk about it a little bit, and I'm just going to go with it because I think there's just too much more quality in that black bear that starts this particular class. And if you're ringside and you go, is his gland out of control? Is that too much waste or throwaway within that carcass? When you step back and you hang him up and you cut that out of him, is there going to be too much throwaway there? I don't know, and it's something within the show pig world that there's concerns with it out there. I don't know how it fits necessarily in the commercial world. Is it throwaway? Yes, but I just think there's too much good in terms of the rest of that one for him not to win this particular class. I mean, that one's fresh backed, he's bold, he's sprung, it ties right out of the top side of his blade. It's so true and genuine in that shape and dimension that he carries down his back. And then when you throw the fact that he is probably one of the best structurally built ones that we've seen today, all the way through the gill show. I mean, he gets out his feet and legs right there on the corners. Does he have a shot? No, it don't matter in a carcass show. If I was to make him that much better, that's where we would go with it. You know, but the question in my mind was, what do you do with the gland? I just still think there's too much good in that one to not start the class. If this one wasn't as slack-topped as he is, and he carried that freshness from the top side of his blade all the way back, he wins in a smoke. I just think there's just gives up too much just that squareness and that loin edge and that power and punch that the bear that starts the class has. If he would do that, I think he easily could slide up and beat that one there. Just not enough just overall power within the top side of that one to get around the one that wins the class. The red bear here is the stouty of the group, and this one's punched out up high. He's big and he's bold and he's opened up for sure. This one just carries probably for me, when you compare him to the two above him, he's just carrying a shot more grease on him than I'd like to see ideal. Does he have a lot of muscle? You bet. Just probably carrying a little more condition than I say ideal with where he's at today. The Berkshire bear coming out next is another one that is square and is right up high. This one just gives up just too much muscle shape and muscle power when you get right there on top of him. He's not as square and crisp in that loin edge when you compare him to the ones above him. You square that one up there, I think it gets real good. We get down to the next three here. They're the ones that frame and size can handle more, and that's where they got to be better. They just got to have more substance of muscle, have more shape and power relative to the ones that are above them within this particular class.
Placings for Class 10. First, Cole Bushing. Second, Brenna Lake. Third, Sophia Young. Fourth, Nicole Bankowski. Fifth, Lydia Dyer. Sixth, Zoe Kimmel. Okay, I've been corrected. I apologize. I've always wondered how to say that name. Camille. And seventh, Nicole Bankowski.
pair of belted bears we got left out here, and I think they both have a little bit of issue on feet and legs, but it's just the overall package, and the one that wins just has more of everything in terms of just density of muscle and mass of that muscle. He ties better and higher right there on the top side of his blade. He reads with more forearm and just overall width and dimension when he comes right at you. You get in behind him, and that's where I think it sorts a little bit. Is he perfect there? No, but I think he's just got more power and punch, and I think he handles it good enough for where he's at. This one is smoother and that look, and he's fresher in terms of that for sure, but that comes with maybe having just a shot more grease laid on him, which is okay, but when you just get right in there and study him right there out of the top side of his blade, he's a little flatter in that top, not as bull and opened up in that center part of his body, and that spread and push of that loin that doesn't quite carry as low down on his ribs is the one that wins that particular class. This one here just needs freshened up. This one's starting to show he's a little flatter backed. He's starting to fill in there and get his back a little too much grease laying in there on the top side. If you ditch him out and just lean him back ever so slightly over that loin and down his top, just trying to lay back down in him and fill with muscle, gets real good in a hurry. When you get in behind him, I think he's the truest and genuinest muscle, and the way he carries it in that hind leg, just not enough back shape up high to run those parallel above him. The line wrestler coming out here next is one that is square and true. He's back shape. Maybe it does reach to have a little touch in that lower 1/3 addition for this Carcass merits for him to be a little more higher cutability relative to the ones above him. The blue bear coming out next. This one is got muscle laid under there, but I think this one's a little more man-made in terms of condition and trying to get that loin edge to push out, maybe with the feed bucket ever so slightly. I just don't think there's enough true genuine muscle within that run higher. Is he built good? Have the look and design and squareness of structure that you want to see in one for sure, just not enough true muscle underneath this condition. We round out the class here with a few that are the other ones that just doesn't tie it all together like you want to see. There may be structurally some issues that we need to fix, just maybe carrying a little more condition and not quite have as much overall power as the ones that rise up within that particular class. Congratulations to those kids.
Results for Class 11. First, Caleb Kneibler. Second, Dakota Hitzeman. Third, Nathan Sutton. Fourth, Lauren Dickey. Fifth, Cameron Hilly. Sixth, Aiden Bain. Seventh, Emma Knoll. And eighth, Calvin Lee.
maybe a little more challenge in this class, but when you just step back and study and find the one that proportions out and has the most in terms of just high quality and cut a up high, and that's the one here in front of me. Landrace or Chester? It's the Landrace or Chester? Chester bear here. I mean, this one's spread up high and his ditch is deep. He's got a lot of product working in him, and he's the most comfortable I think, with what we have here to be able to come to the top, because that one's got a lot of product. It matches and proportions extremely well. I think the Tamworth bear too. Scan with one. I mean, that back is big, square, and bold, and opened up for sure. Effort level is where it got down a little. I think this one is well just carrying is a shot more condition in that lower 1/3, and Reed's just not quite have as much there in terms of just substance in his lower 1/3 when you comparing him to the Chester bear that wins. But back shape and dimensions extremely good in that one. He's going to scan out really, really well. The one coming out here in 3 is a profiling type of bear that's solid in terms of his skeleton. Of that about him. Not enough power and just shape up high that you want to see in this one compared to the Tamworth especially. But I think that one's longer sided. He probably covers the surface with a little more comfort off the hind two. It's not as much product working on that skeleton as we would like to see. Kind of the same scenario here. I think these two are very comparable in terms of their size and their length and their body and everything about them. I think this one just slightly doesn't quite have as much to him, especially when you get right in behind him and you study it going away. Just not as much hog there. The Hereford coming out next is another one that's fresh up high. You love him there, but when you get back there, he's starting to lay that condition on. Like to clean him up in that lower 1/3 when you comparing him to the rest of them. A very high quality one there for sure. The Berkshire Appearing Bear coming out here next is another one that's there, and he's big-ended when you get right in behind him. Just need to balance that up, trim him up in his lower 1/3. Round out of the class with one that's got the skeleton, just needs to put more muscle and mass on that for him to be able to climb up any higher. Congratulations to those kids.
Results for Class 12. First, Megan Mosier. Second, Madison Harrell. Third, Landon King. Fourth, Dakota Hinton. Fifth, Hallie Paul. Sixth, Jonathan Smith. And seventh, Calvin Lee.
Very, very good class. You just step back and you study those 4 or 5 bears we had left out there, and you just got to get right in on top of them and study them for where they're at. And the black bear to me just overwhelms the class in terms of that extras, in terms of muscle and condition, and he's not comfortable, but I think he's comfortable enough. That one just has more of everywhere of everything that you need to have on one. You know, is he right enough in the way he's tied into that shoulder up front? No, but I think Carcass value and just everything about him when you just get right in on top of that one, that is wide backed, fresh backed, square backed, leaves you with enough. I think it matches and proportions extremely well. You know, that's why he wins this particular class. I think if this red bear just showed me just a little more right there in the top side of his blade, showed me just a little more just shape and dimension up high, I think he goes away with it in a hurry, because, you know, this is the balanced hog of the two, but he just gives us much in terms of just overall product when you get right in on him. You know, if we were showing these today structurally and build, design, and function, and big legs and all those cool terms you hear in a show pig world, this one's got it, and I think that's what makes this one so unique. Just from a Carcass standpoint, from where we're at, just not as fresh and bold and square right there out of the top side of his blade all the way back to his 10th rib to run with the one that wins this particular class. The Stouty comes 3. He just needs to come in a longer, more extended package. I think he's carrying just a shot more down low in terms of condition. You know, scan-wise, when you get right on that 10th rib, that one's big back for sure. We just got to give him that length aside and get him just to stretch all that out on a bigger frame for him to run with those 2 above him. The one coming out next is another one that's from the profile and the look and design. You like a lot of things about him. You know, comparatively, I think he gives up too much of that overall spread when you study him compared to the Chester bear that goes out. Is he longer sided? Yes, but there's that fine line of having that much more width when you get right on top of one, and then that with the length aside. I think he just gives up too much of that width. If we could put that much power on this skeleton, it's a runaway for me within this particular drive, but a very nice bear there that ends up in the 4-hole. We bring a red bear out. Here's another one. It's big in his design and look, just not enough power and punch to this one. He's a little drier and is not as just overall substance in that lower center body that you want to see. He's a little staler right there in his chine, as he wants to not be as full and fresh there as you read him on the top side. You just need to get that one to power up. The Hereford coming next is one that has a little more power and punch there for sure. Just not as big and extended as you want to see. Maybe just carry out shot more condition that you want to be ideal on that side or lower 1/3 body comparative to the ones above. The Browns one here that just doesn't have that overall just punch and power that you want to see. Not as fresh and pops out, don't have that pop and shape and dimension up high that you want to see, and just doesn't balance up quite as good as the ones above them. Very good class. Congratulations to those kids.
Results for Results for Class 13. First, Megan Bushing. Second, Holly Howard. Third, Holly Howard. Fourth, Cole Bushing. Fifth, Joseph Warner. Sixth, Megan Mosier. Seventh, Danica Dafflern. Eighth, Hallie King. And ninth, Keegan Hornbeck.
Just got 5 here in this particular class. The young ladies bear comes out here and just there's so much more to this hog. He's fresh and he's square and truer. You get right in on top of him. Skeleton reads to be more comfortable in the way he travels. That's why that one wins this particular class. We tweaked the hocks on this one in 2. I think it gets real good. Is he big backed? Is he fresh? And is he bowled up high? Yes. Well, we run into one there that just is more comfortable and he's skeleton, and that's why this one ends up at 2. It's just not as comfortable and coordinated as you step right in him. Young lady coming out next is another one that's just is the right build and design, just runs out of that extras that the ones above him have. A little flatter and plainer. We're carrying just a shot more condition relative to the ones above him, but you sure do appreciate that one in terms of having the look and the skeletal integrity to be able to handle what he has. This one just reads a little staler, not near as punchy, and you get right in on top of him. He wants to be a little flat, a little more, shows a little more just waist there when you compare him to the rest of them, and that lower 1/3 of his body. If we could take that, turn that into muscle up high, I think that one gets pretty good. Right out of class with this one, it's just plainer and his just doesn't quite have the shape and power that the rest of them have, but a nice bear. Congratulations to those kids.
Results for Class 14. First, Bridget Bain. Second, Nathan Seibel. Third, Katie Harrell. Fourth, Dylan Paul. And fifth, Riley Shaneman.
This class kind of falls together pretty logically for me, and there's no reason to just step back and reevaluate. I think it just slotted the way it did. Young lady's bear comes out here big up high and is fresh and handles himself pretty good for where he is with that power. It just make him flex just a little better there, but I think he's just got so much more power and dimension all the way through skeleton with that muscle and shape that he has. This one here reads the same in terms of freshness. I think that one is good there. Just as flatter sided, that loin doesn't roll out and as wide as true as the bear that beats him in this particular class. Is he more comfortable with that much muscle? Yes, but he just sacrifices too much for me to be able to beat the one that wins this particular drive. Young lady coming out next is one that is up-headed and is that show pig look for sure. That first impression is really good. Just not as genuine muscle shape. I think that one's got a little more extra in terms of that cover that's reading to be muscle in that one. Like to trim him up just ever so slightly when you compare ones and ones. The short body one comes here next. You appreciate the width that this one has for sure. The borderline two-sided in terms of carcass. He might be end up when you have one probably would be a discount just because of the size. Too short-sided. Muscles there for sure, just not enough length and extension in what he's put together. Here is that is longer and has more in terms of the skeleton and side and profile. Just not touch on that one. We round up the class. That's one that's a little more, just two that lower 1/3. He wants a little staler and fresh and bold and stout right there out of the top side of his blade relative to the ones above him. Congratulations to those kids.
Results first Taylor Kniver. Second, Kimberly. Third, Holly Howard. Fourth, Dylan Paul. Calvin. And sixth, Paul Warner. Just a brief break while we're getting the first places pinned here, and we'll wait just until the judge steps back in the ring, and we'll select our grand champion, Carcass Barrow, on foot.
When the judge gets back from the restroom, of course, we're going to be picking the grand champion and reserve Barra. And unlike last year, but like most years, we will have paper copies of the Carcass scan results. Don't flood us till we tell you to. There'll be 2 pieces of paper stapled together, and if one family could take 1 copy, which would be 2 papers, we'd appreciate it, rather than taking 3 or 4 copies. And we'll get into that just shortly. But I wanted to tell you, we do have the copies up here, and when the green flag drops, then you can come up here and get your copies. And we'll have a brief ceremony here shortly.
Okay, it looks like we're ready to select our 2021 Allen County Carcass Barrow on foot. So let's talk about those representatives. In class number 8 is Merrick Malcolm. And come on, Allen County, let's give all of these, as they come out, a good round of applause. I'm sure we've all had at least a little bit of coffee or something cool to drink. Class 9, Carrie Harrell. Class 10, Cole Bushing. Class 11, Caleb Kneibler. Class 12, Megan Mosier. Class 13, Megan Bushing. Class 14, Bridget Bain. And Class 15, Taylor Kneibler. Let's go. Let's give all these first place exhibitors a nice round of applause. And also because I think the judge deserves it, and we failed to do so when we announced him, let's give Brett Vickery also a nice round of applause for taking time today.
Well, thank you for that, and I truly enjoy coming to this. And like I talked there in the guilt show, you know, I thought about this a lot from the stand of SAC, and actually using my education a little bit from what we paid for back in the day to remember some of the things that we need to put in place for a Carcass show like this. And you know, I talked about just how neat it is for these kids to have another opportunity to understand what they're trying to do with their project. I really appreciate it, and please give the folks that put this together a nice round of applause for giving this opportunity to do this. You know, like we talked earlier, and I think this set of bears come together extremely well for me, and I think it was just one of the things that we talked about is just having some extras, being able to and maybe sacrifice it in terms of build, but you know, if they're getting to this point and they can handle it, you got to get out and do those kind of things with so I think there's one of his talked about the guild, fresh and bold and square and true and just such a high cutability hog in my opinion. He's long-sided, he's got the look, and he's just so good in terms of his shape and dimension, and where he excels within this particular drive is just right out the top, 80s bowler. It's just truer right there, that width dimension, and he all the way back. Skeleton, you know, is he probably when you step back off to the side of him, does he profile and does he have that extra, you know, the show presence? Maybe not necessarily, but I think he just ties it all together for me and handles it well. Young man here in front of your champion on foot. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations, Caleb exhibiting granting Carcass Bear that came out of your Class 11. That'll bring in Dakota Hitzeman for contention for reserve.
We bring that one out with second. We talked about him just being maybe not quite as much power and punch within that particular pair. And you get him out here, I think there's just not quite as much to him when you compare him to a couple other ones. There's one out here, there's another one that is just back, is so good and rolled out where it needs to be. Comfort level is where I kind of question him. And like I talked earlier, but you still got to sort him a little bit there. This one just overwhelms you in terms of what we got out here left, and his just presence and build and is good. He just wants to be a knucklehead and squeal a little bit, but I think this one's so good in his carcass and in high cut ability that he is. This one right here is going to be reserved. Congratulations to her.
Congratulations to Megan for exhibit reserved grand champion. Great job to all of you 4-H Carcass exhibitors. You guys want to take a moment, take your pigs on back, bring your family back up here. And we'll announce Carcass and results. I also like to, I'm sure everybody might be a little hungry here. Up here at the announcer stand, everybody's here when you pick up your results. We got some cookies up here, and they are ready to help yourself. Remember, we got cookies up here at the announcer's stand.